Regeneration, renewal, spicy atom mixing, whatever you want to call it, it is one of the main pieces of iconography of Doctor Who. There have been quite a few regenerations on screen, and not all of them of our titular Doctor. This video will be ranking all on-screen regenerations that have been seen. This means I will not be counting entries from things like Big Finish or any comics. If I did that, the video would be far too long. This video is inspired by a channel named Geek Rambles. She recently did a ranking of every Doctor's regeneration. It's a good watch. My list will be very different, but she's awesome. Number 30. The Tisselecta regenerates from the Impossible Astronaut. Although the effects are nice, in-universe it wasn't even a real regeneration. I do remember being incredibly scared when watching this scene and seeing the Doctor get gunned down. It was a moment that drove the entire story for Series 6, and for that it did a great job. Number 29. That fake-out from The Lie of the Land. Okay, so this is another case of it's great until you realize it's all fake and done for shock value. This regeneration is shot more cinematically than the 12th Doctor's actual regeneration. However, because it was part of a cruel prank that didn't even need to go that far, it is sent straight to the bottom of the list. Number 28. The Daleks regenerate from the Witch's Familiar. This one is just flat out terrifying. Watching the Doctor be effectively drained of his regenerative power for it to go straight into the Daleks is disturbing. But this concept is done slightly better in one which is a little bit further down the list. Number 27. The Doctor fixes River's wrist in Angels Take Manhattan. It's a small entry on the list, but I think it's very sweet that the Doctor shares his regeneration energy, and he reaffirms himself as a healer. I really don't think River should have slapped him afterwards. I mean, he fixed her hand. Number 26. The Cybermasters regenerate. The Timeless Children and the Power of the Doctor. It's the same concept as the Daleks in 2 entries ago. However, we see their plan work, and the visual of molten regeneration energy seeping out of the cyber armor is so well done. Number 25, Romana's regeneration, plural? I don't know, from Destiny of the Daleks. Now, this one is a little higher up because she is a Time Lord and it is a real regeneration, but it is still so low on the list because what on earth was going on there? Romana went through 3 bodies like they were changing clothes, and it's never been explained how or exactly what happened there. Did she just burn through 3 regenerations for aesthetic purposes, or is this a Time Lord ability the Doctor's been cut off from, since he is a renegade at the time? Either way, it undermines the serious and surreal nature of regeneration. Number 24. The 6th Doctor regenerates from the Time and the Rani. Look, enough has been said about this one. Colin Baker rightfully did not return to Doctor Who. So, it is Sylvester McCoy in a wig, cross-fading to Sylvester McCoy without a wig. And yes, some may argue that the regeneration has been given value in later years due to the brink of death from Big Finish, and I'd agree, but this list is for on-screen regenerations. When this came out, it must have been very disappointing. I mean, I love the brink of death too, but I've got to follow the own rules I've set. Number 23. The Timeless Child and Tecteun regenerate. The Timeless Children. Now, I know this is a lot of regenerations to count as one, but they are all in the same montage, the same scene, and they are all visually very similar. But I do like the effect quite a bit, and I also like how horrifically Tecteun convulses as she tests regeneration out on herself. It's a good reminder that the process is scary and painful. Number 22. The 11th Doctor destroying the Dalek fleet from Time of the Doctor. The effects on this one are incredible, as well as the Doctor's speech when it's basically Moffat telling the fans not to tell him the rules. However, I do think the regeneration destroying the Dalek fleet and leveling Christmas Town is a bit much. It makes regeneration feel like an energy blast from an anime, which slightly demeans the impact for me, but I do remember being astonished when the scene ended. Number 21. The General's regeneration in Hellbent. A straightforward regeneration, played for laughs and not seen clearly. However, getting Ken Bowes to regenerate into Tania Miller is amazing. Number 20. The War Doctor regenerates. Dave the Doctor. This scene is very nice and tastefully done, except as a kid, I didn't understand why he regenerated at all. The cause was not made clear in the show to the general audience members, because at that time, I'd never seen the 10th Planet. so the phrase wearing a bit thin meant nothing to me. It also felt as though it was done simply to have all the Doctor's regeneration seen, like a checklist. So it deserves to be number 20. Number 19. Mel's regenerates into River Song from Let's Kill Hitler. A bizarre entry, which I don't think is quite as clever as it tries to be. I enjoy the effect, especially the transition from Mel's to River with the head bobbing forward. That was very nice. But the whole conceit of introducing Mel's in the same episode made the twist feel very forced and made the episode feel even more busy than it already was. Number 18. The 12th Doctor regenerates, twice upon a time. Now, I know many of you may not agree with me putting this so low on my list. However, the issue I have is not with Peter Capaldi himself, but with the effect of the regeneration. Well, also, Peter Capaldi poured his heart out in this scene, and it might have gone on a little bit too long, but the main culprit was that the regeneration effect did not look that impressive to me. Number 17. The 7th Doctor regenerates, the TV movie. This regeneration always gets a little bit too much hate, I believe. I think it is because it's so different and bizarre. The electricity and the contortion of the face leave the viewer uneasy, but that's the point. That's what they were trying to go for. Also, the comparison of using Frankenstein gives regeneration a macabre feeling that reminds us that regeneration is a process that defies death. It's much better than what people accuse the TV movie of doing, which is Jesus imagery, which is quite lazy and is low-hanging fruit. It doesn't do that. It's Frankenstein, not Jesus, folks. Number 16. The 2nd Doctor regenerates, the War Games. This regeneration is creepy and frightening. Char made a good point in her video that the Doctor can usually talk his way out of things, but not with the Time Lords, and he's kind of cornered. The thing about regenerations is that you can't judge this one for not being just like any other one, like fading or morphing into the next person, because in 1966, it had only happened once before, so the change could look like anything, really. There was no precedent set. I put it down so low because we don't see John Pertwee until a year later in Spearhead in Space. Or Spearhead from Space. Apologies. Number 15. The 10th Doctor regenerates into the 10th Doctor, the Stolen Earth in Journey's End. In a similar way, this regeneration left us on a cliffhanger, but it was only for a week. And that week might have felt like a year, though, because the regeneration as a cliffhanger was an incredible idea. The regeneration looks phenomenal, and the music swells with the orchestra playing a panicked version of Doomsday. And that last shot of the regeneration from above is etched into my brain. A wonderful entry, but because the change was into himself, it kind of makes it not as awesome. It still had massive consequences we have yet to see as of the making of this video, though. Number 14. The forced regeneration from the power of the Doctor. Oh my gosh. This was one of the very few regenerations to stun me. When I saw it, I couldn't believe Chris Chibnall had done it. I love when we get to see new or fleshed out facets of regeneration. And that's because the show doesn't mess with it as much as it probably should. This and the regeneration back were done so well effects-wise also. Number 13. River uses all her remaining regenerations to save the Doctor in Let's Kill Hitler. An emotional scene with a beautiful regeneration effect to go with it. It's the most new series Doctor Who that a regeneration can get. A beautiful regeneration and a kiss at the same time. And even though it is a regeneration to save the Doctor's life, that moment is truly the birth of River Song. Number 12. Kanpo Rinpoche regenerates from Planet of the Spiders. This regeneration just makes me smile. It's so refreshing to see regeneration where people know what's happening and it results in joy and not confusion or terror. Kenpo regenerating into the form of his self-projection Choji is very well done, and it sets up the third Doctor's regeneration later in the episode perfectly. Number 11. The 8th Doctor regenerates from Night of the Doctor. This one's so sad, yet it's so beautifully done. McGann acts his heart out, and the regeneration is almost treated as a religious event or a ritual. It's a haunting affair that results in a baptism of light. The regeneration itself symbolically represented the death of the Doctor when he went to fight in the Time War. That is conveyed so well here. Number 10, the child regenerates from the day of the moon. Everything about the score, the set, the acting, the music, everything is perfect here. The visual of the child regenerating to the almost operatic music is one of the best shots in the show's history. The homeless man's heart was hurting for the little girl when he heard that she was dying, and that was so affecting. And that's why, when his emotions turn to terror, it works so well. It's an excellent regeneration. Number 9, the fifth Doctor regenerates, the Caves of Androzani. Caves is often regarded as one of the best stories of Doctor Who, mainly because it never stops. The Doctor and Peri are thrown from one perilous situation into another for 4 grueling episodes. And the moment the TARDIS dematerializes and the Doctor gives Peri the antidote, it feels like you can breathe again, but not quite. Which you feel guilty for because you know that the Doctor has reached the end of his life. Once the buildup of his companions and the Master flashing before his eyes gets you feeling overwhelmed again, it results in a massive crash as the sixth Doctor sits up in total silence. A very captivating way to bring him to life. Number 8, the third Doctor regenerates from Planet of the Spiders. Now the thing is, if he had regenerated immediately after his last words, this entry would be in the top 3 for sure. But with Campo coming in and giving the regeneration a push, it breaks the dramatic tension and causes the regeneration itself to be on its own. It's a good effect, but not close enough to his final words to make an impact. Number 7, the 13th Doctor regenerates in The Power of the Doctor. So this regeneration is almost perfect in every way. A beautiful, hopeful speech, gorgeous music, the most beautiful effect we've ever had for the show. And yet, the problem is when the 14th Doctor arrives. The regeneration effect looks so different, and it completely obscures the Doctor's face as they change, which aesthetically is jarring compared to what we just saw moments ago. It's an effects gripe. It's not a performance gripe. Number 6, the 10th Doctor regenerates, The End of Time Part 2. Okay, so I'm going to be honest, even as a kid, I didn't like this one as much as I felt I should. It's beautiful, and Tennant's acting carries the scene. He barely says a word, and his face conveys everything you need to know. However, when he does say something, he says, "I don't want to go." Now, this is a huge issue for me, because the Doctor's usually brave in going into the next regeneration, and this didn't reflect what I thought the core of the 10th Doctor was. It also gave Matt Smith one hell of a job to win people over. I know so many people who tuned out of Doctor Who because that regeneration was so hard for them to watch, and they didn't want to have anything to do with the next guy. However, Matt Smith kills it in the next 30 seconds he's given. But still, I feel as though Tennant went out on a whimper and not with a bang. Number 5, the Master Reborn from Utopia. This regeneration terrified me as a child. Like, when the Master screamed for regenerating, it stayed with me for ages. Also, the music was perfect. The bam 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 bam. That's it's just so good. And the regeneration was chaotic and colorful and scary. Also, the shot of the regeneration energy shining through the TARDIS windows was amazing as well. Number 4, the 4th Doctor regenerates, Logopolis. This regeneration's main strength is the music. My goodness, The Watcher of Entropy by Paddy Kingsland is so good. Even as a child, it gave me goosebumps. It is also sad to realize that the 4th Doctor is dying and he's surrounded by 3 people he's just barely met. He thinks back to all of his friends he loves so dearly, but none of them are here. You can feel a weariness in Baker's portrayal as he gives it up and starts a new chapter of his life. He's immediately filled with joy when he tells them that the moment has been prepared for. Number 3, the 11th Doctor regenerates, The Time of the Doctor. The best thing about the 11th Doctor's regeneration is that Matt Smith reminds us of every reason why we love him right before he leaves. And he anticipates the next Doctor with great excitement. I will say that when he removed the bow tie and dropped it to the ground, it felt like a knife slowly being pulled out of my heart. I love how quick the regeneration was as well. It was a welcome change from Number 2, the first Doctor regenerates, the 10th planet. The first regeneration worked for a reason. It was so unlike anything ever before. The part that does it for me is that the console was operating by itself, which is way beyond creepy. And the effect was done so perfectly with such primitive technology for filmmaking. It's astounding. Also, I can't possibly imagine what audiences must have thought about this renewal. What's insane as well is that they only had to wait until next week for Power of the Daleks Part 1 to see what was going to happen next. Number 1. The 9th Doctor regenerates in The Parting of the Ways. This one is perfect. It explains the process in a way that anybody can understand, and the Doctor is happy. Or at least he's being funny and sweet to Rose as an extension to the audience. He explains the concept so well. He's so brave and patient. When I saw this at 9 years old, this was my first regeneration, and I had a smile on my face the whole way through. In fact, the regeneration worked so well, when I saw the Christmas invasion, I thought Rose was overreacting. I thought she was being unreasonable. He's like, oh, Mommy's gone. The music is so perfect, and so are the effects. Getting to see the face change so thoroughly using CGI and the golden light was mind-blowing. There's no wonder that Regeneration has always looked similar since, because this was the new series' blueprint for how to do it. Regeneration is awesome. It's allowed the show to continue for 60 years. When the Doctor regenerates again next month, I'll probably pin a comment as to where I rank it on this video. But also, please subscribe to Geek Rambles. She's trying to get 1,000 subscribers by her birthday, December 29th. And her content is really good. I will see you guys after the 60th starts. Bye-bye.